Good afternoon. The first transaction that we did was the euro with the pound sterling. The first news is about the euro area economic confidence rose to a 10-month high in October after the French growth rebounded and Spain powered ahead, pointing a new signs of the reliance in the United Nations bloc. It is about that an index on executive and consumer sentiment in the region rose 106.3% from 104.9 in September. The European Commission in Brussels said Friday that the stronger reading since December and beats median estimate in Bloomberg survey, which was for an unchanged reading. The data offered a glimpse of euro area economic performance after the UK decision to leave the European Union increased downside to risks a fragile and uneven recovery. Diverging growth rates are keeping pressure on the European Central Bank, maintaining unprecedented stimulus to strengthen the euro area, the economic, and especially to bring inflation back to its goal of just under 2%. And the second news is about the euro area recovery. It's unbalanced, but not the way you think. It is about the euro area recovery. It's suffering from the dearth of investment. Quite the contrary, in fact, and the current level of investment is unsustainable without more customers spending. This is a conclusion of the study published on Friday by the European Central Bank. It runs contrary to the standard narrative of the region's upswing. It is a consumption driver, recovering the realized to a weak euro and the central bank stimulus, but it's sorely lacking to the investment need to put economic on a long path of expansion. To address the perceived lack of capital spending in the region, the European Commission in 2014 set up two so-called Juncker plan in Germany alone. The investment gap may be around 4% of output or 120 billion euros, according to Marcel Fratscher, head of the Berlin-based German Institute of Economic Research. We decided to do this transaction as before to the euro was facing with the crisis. In this case, it permitted the currency start down, and we bet that the currency down, and obviously the other for the case in action start to increase. The second transaction that we did was the dollar with the Canadian dollar. The first thing is about the once bulk of currency ordinary trusts done buying liras. Turkey's lira is cusp of losing the bank of one of its most loyal group of investors, the people of Turkey. The country's citizens and business is grouped to buy liras. Is this year it made a political fable about military coup and is paid a debt downgrade, while the currency fell more than any other emerging market outside of Latin America. Turks both, to help it rebound each time it dropped towards 3.10 per dollar. And the second news is about that the U.S. stocks declined after FBI reopens to prove into Clinton emails. This news is about that the U.S. stock declines with the S&P 500 index falling to a 6-week low after the federal Bureau of Investigation reopened a probe into Hillary Clinton use of unauthorized email server. It's about the word of the FBI renewed investigation, rapidly investors wiping out gains as equities carrying down from the date's height. An early advice came to a data bolstered speculation a stronger economy made live corporate earnings, while rails in Alphabet Inc. and Chevron Corp overshadowed a self-among drunk markets. The S&P 500 fell 0.3% to 2,126.41 at 4 p.m. in New York, erasing a 0.4% advance. The Dow fell as much as 0.6%, extending the longest loss in the same year. The Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped 8.49 points to 18 millions 161.19 after reversing a 0.5% climb. The Nasdaq Composite Index dropped 0.5%, joining the S&P 500 at 16-week low. About 74 billion shares trade hands on the U.S. exchange, 4% above the 3-month average. With the size of this transaction outside in the news, the people was paid to the other currencies. In the case of the dollar, it was affecting in this news for the mails. The stocks start to decline, and it is a case, a big problem that Hillary Clinton had. And this is affecting the stocks in the case of the currency of the dollar, and obviously the other currency start to increase depth that the other currency was start to decrease.
Shelbull says reassured ETL's monetary policy has limits. There is growing international consensus that monetary policy the reshaped the limit of its possibilities. German finance Wolfgang Schäuble told a group of government officials in Berlin on Thursday. Schäuble also said that believed that there has an excess of liquidity and excess of indebtedness internationally. Oil ends down, EU crude drops further below 50 on APE data. Oil standed down on Thursday, then EU crude sills further below 50 barrel in possibly meant trade after an industry group reported that EU's oil inventories grew nearly 4 times as much as forecast. The American Petroleum Institute reported that EU's crude stocks rose by 4.8 million barrels in the week ended October 21 versus 1.7 million barrels bulk forecast by analysts polled by Reuters. We analyzed that the dollar will attended downward due to increasing oil reserves accumulations and decreasing price. Thereafter, the euro will rise by the statement of the German Minister to Monetary Policy and therefore rise in interest rates and to the negative interest rates. EU's August home price rise 5.1% from year ago. Consumer confidence leaps in October. EU's home price rose 5.1% in the year to August as home budgets competed for fewer properties, helped by low mortgage interest rates, some wage growth and low unemployment. Failure of EU trade deal will leave Canada in top positions. The allowing failure of free trade talks with the European Union would daily Canada's push on reducing its dependence on the United States and potentially complicate negotiations with other nations such as India and China. The EU's hopes of signing the pact this week appeared to evaporate on Monday as the Belgian government failed to win the consent of regional authorities necessary to approve the deal. The European deal would have given Canada preferential access to market for 500 million people, more than the North American Free Trade Agreement, at a time when the EU's Canadian partnerships in under pressure. We analyze the dollar rise because the price of using is increasing, showing a recovery. This due to falling unemployment and low interest rates, whereas the low Canadian dollar due to uncertainty caused by the problems in the signing of the trade agreement with the EU.